The night had already swallowed most of the countryside when Ethan Wade, a quiet mechanic with grease-stained hands and the softest heart in the county, closed the doors of his old workshop. The clang of metal echoed in the cold silence, followed by the sigh of a man who worked more hours than he slept. Ethan didn't complain. Hard work had become his second skin. His small farm, tucked behind the workshop, barely made enough to keep the lights on, but it was home. It was his father's land, and he'd promised to never sell it, no matter how tough life got. He grabbed his jacket and walked toward the dirt road that led to his farmhouse. The moon hung low, fog rolled across the ground like ghosts searching for warmth, and the wind carried a distant scent of smoke. Ethan paused. Smoke. At this time of night. It wasn't the kind that came from fireplaces. This was sharper, stronger, wrong. He followed the smell, sprinting without a second thought. As he turned the bend, his eyes widened. Flames exploded into the night sky. A car, overturned, smashed, leaking fuel, burned like a torch in the middle of the road. And someone was screaming. Ethan tore across the gravel until his boots skidded near the inferno. Through the broken glass, he spotted movement. A woman, 2 small children. No, 2 identical little girls, twins, trapped in the back seat. The flames were spreading fast, crackling up the seats, licking dangerously close to the fuel tank. He didn't hesitate. He never would. Ethan grabbed the handle, burning his palm instantly, but he yanked with everything he had. The door refused to budge. The woman inside coughed violently, her voice hoarse. "Please. My babies, help my babies." Ethan braced his foot against the frame and pulled again. Muscles straining, veins bulging, smoke choking his throat. Finally, the metal gave way with a violent screech. He dragged the mother out first as she screamed, "My girls! Get my girls!" The flames roared, and one of the twins cried weakly, her tiny hands hitting the window. Ethan's heart split at the sound. He ducked back into the abyss of smoke, heat slamming into his skin. He smashed the back window with his forearm, ignoring the shards slicing his skin. One little girl reached for him, her face streaked with soot and tears. He grabbed her, shielding her from the fire, and rushed her outside, placing her into her mother's trembling arms. "One more," the mother cried. "Please, please." Ethan went back, no hesitation, no fear for his life. Smoke clawed at his lungs, his vision blurred. The second twin was unconscious, slumped over her car seat. Flames were inches away from her tiny body. "Come on, sweetheart," he whispered, reaching through the fire. His jacket caught a spark, flames climbing his sleeve. Ethan ripped it off and shielded the child with his body as he pulled her free. A massive boom shook the road just as he cleared the wreck. The car exploded behind him, sending metal fragments flying. Ethan curled around the unconscious girl, absorbing the shock. Heat seared his back. The world spun. The mother screamed. When the smoke cleared, Ethan was lying on the ground, dazed, but alive. He handed the little girl to her mother, who sobbed uncontrollably, clutching both her daughters like she would never let them go again. "Thank you," she whispered, tears streaming. "You saved us, you saved us all." Ethan nodded weakly. "Just glad you're safe." The paramedics arrived minutes later, called by passing drivers. The mother and the girls were rushed to the hospital, and Ethan refused treatment beyond basic bandaging. He returned home before dawn, exhausted, his body aching but his heart strangely full. He didn't expect to ever see them again. But fate had different plans. The next morning, just as the sun began painting the sky with streaks of gold and pink, his farm trembled. The sound was distant at first, a low rumble that grew louder. Ethan stepped outside, confused. Birds scattered into the sky. The ground vibrated under his boots. And then, he saw them. Helicopters. Not one, not two, five. 5 massive helicopters hovered over his small, worn-down farm, their blades blowing hay and dust into the air like a tornado. Ethan shielded his eyes, stunned. What on earth was happening? He hadn't done anything except, a rope ladder dropped from the lead helicopter. A man in a dark suit descended with the confidence of someone used to stepping out of the sky. Behind him were cameras, medics, assistants, and security. Ethan blinked, trying to figure out whether he was awake or dreaming. The man approached him and extended a hand. "Mr. Ethan Wade." Ethan nodded slowly. "That's me. I'm Daniel Hawthorne, CEO of Hawthorne Global Industries." Ethan almost laughed. The man was a billionaire. Everyone knew his name. But why was he here? Why at his farm? Before Ethan could ask, another helicopter door opened, and the woman from the burning car stepped out, carrying her 2 little girls. She ran to Ethan. Without hesitation, without fear, she threw her arms around him. We looked everywhere for you last night. I didn't even get your name. The twins immediately wrapped themselves around Ethan's legs, their small hands gripping his jeans like he was their hero. Because to them, he was. Daniel Hawthorne stepped forward again. Ethan, you saved my daughter and my granddaughters. Ethan froze. Granddaughters. The billionaire's granddaughters. Daniel continued, his voice thick with emotion. We were told you risked your life. You went into a burning car. You shielded one of the girls during the explosion. If not for you, his voice cracked. We would be planning funerals right now. Ethan looked down at the twins. Their mother smiled softly, eyes filled with gratitude no words could match. Daniel motioned to the helicopters. I brought my entire team here because I don't think a simple, thank you, is enough. Ethan scratched the back of his neck, uncomfortable. Sir, I didn't do it for a reward. Anyone would have done the same. Daniel shook his head firmly. No, not anyone. Very few people would run into fire for strangers. You did. The billionaire signaled someone from the crew. A woman stepped forward holding a thick folder. Daniel opened it. Ethan Wade, last night you saved the future of my family. Today, I want to save yours. Ethan frowned. Sir, I don't understand. Daniel handed him the folder. Ethan opened it, and his breath caught. Inside was a deed to his farm, paid off completely. Every loan cleared, every debt erased. Ethan nearly stumbled. I don't know what to say. Daniel wasn't done. And this, he added, handing him another envelope, is a check. For $5 million. I want you to expand your workshop. Build the life you deserve. Ethan stared at the billionaire like he had misheard. $5 million. The mother stepped forward, placing a hand on Ethan's arm. You saved my daughters. There is no price for that. But we want to help you the way you helped us. The twins looked up at him with bright, hopeful eyes. One of them tugged his sleeve. Mr. Ethan, Mommy said you're our hero. The other whispered, we drew you pictures. They pulled out tiny crumpled papers from their pockets, shaky stick figure drawings of Ethan pulling them from fire. Ethan's eyes stung. You girls, you didn't have to do this. Daniel smiled. They insisted. One of the choppers landed softly on the far side of the farm. Daniel gestured. Come with us. Let us take you to town. There's a press conference we prepared. Reporters want to talk to you. The world needs to hear what you did. Ethan stepped back quickly. No, I'm not good with cameras. I'm just a mechanic. Daniel chuckled. Heroes never think they are. Ethan shook his head. I don't want fame. I don't want attention. I just want to live quietly. Daniel's expression softened. Then we'll respect that. He waved for the cameras to stay back. The crew halted instantly. The mother wiped her eyes. Ethan, I don't know how to thank you enough. You already did, Ethan said, glancing at the deed. Daniel extended his hand again. If you ever need anything, ever, you call me. Your family now. Ethan laughed lightly. Family. I barely know you. Daniel grinned. You saved the people I love most. That makes you part of us. The twins hugged Ethan one last time before their mother lifted them into the helicopter. Daniel followed, pausing before boarding. Ethan, the world needs more men like you. I hope you know that. The helicopters lifted into the sky, leaving Ethan standing in the whirlwind of dust, holding a deed and a check that would change his life forever. Silence settled once the blades faded into the distance. Ethan let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. He looked at the papers in his hands, then at his old farmhouse, battered and worn. For the first time in years, he imagined a future where things could be different. Better. A future he never expected. Later that evening, as the sun dipped over the horizon and cast long shadows across the fields, Ethan stood on his porch. The breeze carried the faint laughter of children in the distance, maybe just a memory, but one he would hold close forever. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man who did what was right. But the world, the billionaire, the mother, and the twin girls, they all saw something more in him. And maybe, just maybe, he was ready to believe it too. Because sometimes life changes in the blink of an eye. Sometimes it takes just one moment, one brave decision, to rewrite the entire story of a person's fate. Ethan Wade never sought glory. But glory found him anyway.